Welcome to the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast, a space where we break free from tradition, creating a wedding day totally authentic to you and your love story. I'm Abby, UK wedding planner and owner of Elegance Unlimited, here to help you plan a wedding day that feels uniquely yours. Join me for planning tips and advice, endless inspiration, and a pocket full of calm within the chaos that is wedding planning. Consider me a trusted friend, here to walk you through it all. From injecting fun splashes of personality into your day, to reinventing tradition completely, all whilst focused on building a day bespoke to your dreams and desires. I cannot wait to get started, so let's get planning. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast. My name is Abby. I am a UK wedding planner. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining. I'm very grateful to have you. How is everyone doing? How's everyone doing this week? At the time of recording, it's been hot as hell. To be perfectly honest with you, it's been hot and muggy and sticky. And anyone that knows me knows that I'm not normally a summer kind of gal. I like it, don't get me wrong. I like a nice sunny day. I like feeling comfortable in the sunshine, you know, but I am a winter gal through and through. Autumn and winter, that's my time. I thrive in the autumn, winter. But saying that, I have been enjoying the summer. I have been enjoying the heat we've been having. I have been enjoying the nicer weather, but it's just a lot, isn't it? It's sticky. And I don't enjoy the sweat and stickiness and restless nights sleeping. It's not for me. Not a fan. But yeah, hope everyone's coping well. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're making the most of it, especially for people that have got summer weddings. My God, you are all going to have had just like the best weather for your wedding days. Even today, as I'm recording, like it heaved down this morning with rain, like just went absolutely crazy for maybe like 20 minutes. And then it stopped and it's gone. And it's not like super sunny. It's cloudy, which is perfect for wedding photography. And it's warm. Like you don't need a coat, you don't need a jacket, there's no wind, there's no perfect weather today. If you are getting married today, then good luck and congratulations. But yes, that's my little ramble over. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for coming back to the podcast. I'm excited to be here as always. I'm feeling super, super pumped and motivated lately. Super kind of, I love my job. I love my business. I love everything about it. It's, honestly couldn't ask for a better job in the world, but that doesn't mean to say that sometimes life gets busy. Life's a lot. And lately I've just been feeling extra tired, it's been that extra bit of work, and running a business is hard. It's really tough. So there have been times when I've just got up in the morning and thought, no, not today. Not today. I could just use a day or two. But saying that, I'm feeling pumped. I've re-energized. I don't know where it's come from, but I'm glad it's here. I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling pumped. I'm feeling great about all of my couples and my clients and the weddings that I've got coming up. I'm feeling good about the podcast. I'm feeling good about some other behind the scenes wedding-y business bits that I've had going on. Puppy training's going well. If you've been keeping up to date with the puppy stuff behind the scenes, we have a new puppy. He's gorgeous. And he's finally starting to listen to what we say. So that's great. And yeah, everything's good. So all is good with me. Hope all is good with you. Let's get on into the episode, shall we? Let's get straight on into it. We don't like to ramble for too long. I'll give you a bit of a backstory, but nothing too much. Today, we are talking about 10 things that you should be asking your wedding venue before you book them. And I'm excited to talk about it. So let's go. Now, I feel like this is going to be a helpful episode for some people. I hope it's going to be helpful because wedding venues it's like the big thing, right? It's your big booking. It's a big decision. It's a big investment. And I think a lot of the time there's so much that goes with it. Like your venue has such a process. There's so much going on, right? There is a whole world of its own going on in that venue with their procedure, their staff, what they do, how they run a wedding day. Like they have it down. Good venues will have it down to a T. They know what they're doing, right? And they are not to diminish anyone's wedding day, but a lot of the time they are pumping out weddings, wedding after wedding after wedding. So they're going through the same process again and again and again with every single couple. And I think sometimes if they don't have it labeled clearly in an information pack, or they're not going through that process with you from the beginning of answering your questions, making sure you know everything you need to know, it can become a bit of an issue, because you as a couple, you're not supposed to know. How are you supposed to know what questions you should be asking, the things you need to make sure that you've got in place before you're securing that booking, before you're signing a contract and committing to pay all of this money and have your wedding there? So I think there's a lot to be said for this part of wedding planning. I think it's a big deal, and I think it'll be good for us to go through some questions today. I will start by saying that there are so many questions you could ask your wedding venue. I do not want to sit here and say these are the only questions you should be asking, nor do I want to say these are the most important questions. I think these are important. I think these are worth considering and finding out if it's something that's important to you for your wedding day. And you'll see what I mean as we kind of go through the questions. It'll make a lot more sense. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say these are the 10 questions you should ask, because there might be 20 questions you want to ask. You might only have 3, like the other things might not bother you. You might have 50 questions you want to ask, and your wedding's got so many moving parts and you've got so many ideas and plans of things you want to do that there's just so many things that they've not told you yet, or you want to find out, or the information pack's not giving you answers to, or you just want to double check. That's fine. Okay. We could do more episodes on this. I can go over this as many times as you guys find helpful, but we'll start here. 10 questions. We'll go through them. If you find them helpful, great. If you don't, we won't do another episode. It's fine. We won't do a part 2, but we'll see how we go. The first thing, and some of these might seem like common sense, but when it comes to wedding planning and when it comes to getting these details secured and confirmed, nothing is common sense. I always assume that in the wedding industry, nothing's common sense. Don't assume that anybody knows anything, because that's when crossed wires happen. That's when miscommunication happens. That's when you get issues with people thinking that different things are true. And then when it gets to the wedding day, or when, something happens, things become an issue. I saw something, complete side note, I saw a reel or like a video on Instagram the other day, and I think it was from a podcast, but they were talking at these 2 sisters were talking about one of the sisters' weddings, and she was saying, oh gosh, wasn't it amazing you didn't have bouquets for your bridesmaids, like they were just holding one single flower. And the sister that got married came out and said, actually, that wasn't supposed to be the case. Like, my florist turned up on the day and said, hey, I know we weren't going to be doing bouquets for the bridesmaids, but I have some spare. Not full bouquets, but I have some flowers spare that I think would be, if you want to, they could each hold a single flower, and then you have like the full bouquet if that's what you fancy doing. And this bride was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. No problem. Yeah, we'll do that. In her head thinking, I didn't know we weren't doing bouquets. Her understanding, the bride's understanding, was that, yeah, everyone's having a bouquet. But the florist's understanding was, no, just the bride's having a bouquet. And it just luckily turned out that she had enough flowers spare for them to do this singular flower. It looked stunning. It looked gorgeous. And, her sister was saying, oh, I didn't even know that was the case. Like, you wouldn't have known. It looked so intentional. But yeah, that's how it worked out. And obviously that has nothing to do with venues, but it's just something I saw the other day that I think ties in nicely with my point of saying that don't assume that people know what you have going on, because that could have been a real issue. Luckily, this florist had these extra flowers available, but if she'd had nothing, the bride would have then had to go, oh, okay, so my bridesmaids aren't holding anything. And if that was something that's really important to her, that would have been an issue. So don't ever feel, whether it's your venue or whether it's any other supplier, like, you can't ask the question again, double check. Can I just confirm? Every time you're emailing, when it's like you're stating something you've just said, when you're booking in a meeting and you're saying, okay, can you do 7 p.m. on Friday? And you're going, yep, 7 p.m. on Friday is great for me. You're not just saying, yes, great. You're saying, yep, just confirming. So they have another opportunity to like read that again and confirm it. It's the same concept. Confirm, double check. This is why it's important to keep track of all your plans, keep things in place so that you know exactly what's supposed to be going on. And you can then, cross-reference that over as well. And obviously, if you have a planner or if you have someone that you're working with, they will be keeping tabs on all of this with you or for you, depending on what your setup is. So yeah, long story short, double check all of your plans. But in terms of venues, stuff like this is really, really important. So the first question that I want you to be asking your venue is what's included. And it sounds like, I told you it would sound like common sense. What is included and what is not included? Because it's very easy to get a list of things that says, yes, this is everything that's included. But when you're reading that list, you're thinking, that's great, amazing, all this stuff's included. What you're not thinking whilst you're looking at that is, they're not providing napkins, or they're not providing, it's things you're not going to notice it if it's not on the list, You're only going to see what's in front of you. So you're not going to pick up on everything. So I think it's really important to get both sides of the coin. What's not included? In this price, in this package that you're offering me, what's not included? What am I either going to have to source elsewhere or pay you extra to provide because it's not part of the initial contract, right? And you have to think about everything. Common sense things like knives and forks and glasses and plates. Assume most venues, if you're getting a full service venue, will include this, by the way. This isn't for me trying to freak anyone out. What I want you to be doing is to be diligent and to be really detailed when you're reading through these things. What's included? Do we get basic things? Are there ice buckets for us to use for this? Do you provide the easels for welcome signage? Do we need to outsource those? These things later down the line that you're going to then be realizing, oh yeah, we're going to need to get that sorted. They don't provide the table linens, they get those externally. So if they're going to get them externally and they're only going to get white ones, maybe we want to choose the ones that we want to bring in ourselves. It's a cost either way. Things like that, just know where you're at, know what they're offering, and know what you want. I think that's another thing that ties in nicely with this. Know what you want before you're going into this process. What are you expecting from them? And then what are they providing you? What are they offering? You really need to get clear on that, and you really need to get clear on what's a priority for you before you go into that as well. Because, is it a priority to you to not have to worry about sourcing furniture elsewhere if they're providing tables and chairs? Or do you have a really specific style of table and chair in mind that you'd like and you'd actually prefer to get it elsewhere? Is that automatically included in the quote? The venue price? Can you get it lower by not getting those? Is that something they offer? If they can't and you're going to be paying for them anyway, is it a deal breaker? Do you just use their tables and chairs? Things like that. Have those conversations, understand what you want, know your vision. I think this is why it's so important to do some research and some inspiration and some vision boarding on what we want. Not going too deep because you don't want to stress yourselves out from the get-go, but you want to have a vague idea of what's going to be important to you from the beginning. The second thing I would be asking them is, do you have a preferred suppliers list? Most venues will. And are we required to use them? Do you have to use them? Some venues will say yes, even if it's for specific suppliers. So a lot of venues, and this is where couples can come into issues because, they have preferences that don't line up with the venues. A lot of venues will say, you have to use our caterers. These are the caterers we use. That's your only option. This is what we use. Same for the bar and the drinks. Some of them will have a list of like 4 or 5 different styles of catering, and they'll say, these are the caterers we use. You have to choose from one of those. They might let you bring in external caterers for like evening food, so like food trucks and things like that. But for the wedding breakfast meal itself, they will be saying, this is what we use. Like I said, many venues will have a preferred suppliers list, and they can be really helpful. A lot of the time, they are people that the venue's worked with regularly. They know them, they can trust them. I'd like to think that many venues aren't just popping people on their list for the sake of it, just because they said please. Like, you want to make sure that you're recommending people that are worth recommending, but this could be a deal breaker for you. If you have specific suppliers that you want to use and your venue is not going to give you the opportunity to do that, maybe it's not the venue for you. But what you don't want to do is be signing a contract and then finding out as you start to book all your suppliers, actually, we're not allowed. We can't bring in that catering. We can't bring in the Thai catering place that, we always go to and we've always hired out and we wanted them to do our wedding. They're not allowed to do our wedding because we've already signed the contract for this venue. Don't get caught out like that. Things like that are going to be important. This is where it comes back to finding out your priorities. What's important to us? Is the food a really big deal? We need to find somewhere that's going to allow us to have full control over that situation and, make those decisions ourselves. A lot of the time as well, if you're limited on those catering options, you're also tied into a price. And there isn't negotiation there for doing a bit more research and finding somewhere that might fit into your price point better per head. Maybe you're looking to pay £50 per head, but all of the options at the venue are 60, 70, 80, £100 a head. And you're then obviously per person, you've got 100 guests coming. That's hiking the price up by a lot. So things like that to think about can have an impact on your budget, on the things you can book, on the things that you can have at your wedding day. And again, this is nothing to freak you out. This is standard practice. Like, a lot of venues do this, but it's worth thinking about. And if having your own suppliers and choosing everything completely yourselves is really, really important to you, I would suggest going for a dry hire venue. I can't remember if we've done an episode on that yet or not. I don't think we have, but it's on my list. It's on my list to do. A dry hire venue is essentially an empty venue. It's a blank canvas. You just hire the venue. There's no venue staff. There's no, internal planning team. There's no internal catering, bar staff, anything like that. You are bringing everything in. So pros and cons: can be more costly in some areas, better in others, gives you more creative freedom, all of that stuff. We'll go into it in another episode, but that might be a better option for you if you want creative freedom with all of your suppliers and you want to have that control. Another thing I would be asking is what their policies are for external stylists or styling in the space. Essentially, what can we do with the space? What can we come in and hang up or put up or place here? Who can we bring in? Is that going to be an issue? And what can we do? If you know from the get-go, we want to do draping from the ceiling, from the beams, check that you're allowed to do that. Check that they are going to, be okay with doing that, and get it in writing. This is another thing that's really important. Get everything that you're asking for, make sure it's written down. Don't take their word for it, because the amount of times that venue staff changes, people might move into roles, come out of roles, and suddenly there's more miscommunication and crossed wires because Susie told you, yes, you'll absolutely be able to put draping over the beams. And then Emily's come into the role and gone, no, absolutely not. We can't do that. But you'd agreed it with Susie, but Susie's not there. Susie's gone. Okay. So then you come into an issue of like, well, we had this whole vision for how our space is going to look. Now it's not going to look anything like we'd hoped, and we're gutted. Don't fall into that trap. Make sure you're finding out exactly what you're allowed to do with the space and get it in writing. Really important as well to ask what the situation with candles is. A lot of venues now actually won't allow you or can't allow you to have open flames. And if you can have candles, they have to be covered with like the hurricane vases and things like that, which, although they're beautiful, they might not be your vibe. So if having real candles and them looking a certain way is really important to you, check what you're allowed to do. If it's a deal breaker, it might not be the venue for you. You also want to be asking your venue when you will have access to the venue and how long for. And I don't just mean on the wedding day. Can you get in the day before? Can you start setting up? How long do you have to take everything down and pack everything away afterwards? Has it got to be gone the night of? Are you going to spend your wedding evening packing everything up and getting it out of the space because someone's in there first thing and you need to be out of the way? Is that the case? Is that going to be an issue for you? Is that how you want to spend your wedding evening? Are there people that you're going to have to then hire to come and do that? Is that an extra cost? Things like that can have a real impact on the process, on the wedding day itself, on your timeline, particularly with setting up. Taking down takes a lot less time, a lot of the time, because people are just putting things in boxes and then taking them somewhere else to kind of go through and sort out properly. Setting up and putting things in those really particular places with the plates and the knives and the glasses and the napkins and the little place cards and the styling and setting up the flower arch or whatever you're doing, that takes a lot of time. And if you're doing it yourselves, it's absolutely going to be tough to do it on your wedding morning. If you're getting married at 12:30 and you need to get ready and you need to set everything up, you can't get in until 9, 10 a.m. because sometimes they won't let you. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. Even if you are hiring someone external to do that, even if you've got a stylist coming in, 2 hours is not enough time to set up a whole wedding. It's not. You'd need a lot of staff to be able to do it. It's doable in that sense. If you've got 1 or 2 people coming to set up your whole wedding for 60 people and they need to do the plates and the styling and this and that and the other, it's not enough time. Can they get in them the day before? Can they come in the evening before? Is there a wedding happening the day before? Is there a wedding happening the morning after? Find out things that are going to impact your little wedding bubble, your section of time. And it comes down to really understanding what you're booking. What are we paying for? Because yes, we're paying for the venue, yes, we're paying for this, but do we have this space for a reasonable amount of time? Or are we literally having less than 16 hours on the day to be in and out? That's not a relaxed, fun, calming wedding vibe, wedding atmosphere on the day. And you might find that that's too stressful for you. So again, ask the questions, get it in writing. You also want to be asking, do we have exclusive use? Not only are we asking when we can get in and when we have to be out, whilst we are here, whilst we are getting married and having our special day, do we have exclusive use of this space? Are there any other weddings going on? And where will they be? What's, that's going to impact the car parking space, the accommodation they might have available. Also, just, do you want someone getting married in the same space as you on the same day? Most people probably don't. If it's the type of venue that's open to the public, if it's a public space, is it still open to the public on our wedding day? Are we going to have people just kind of walking through and, being in our way? Is that going to be an issue for us? I did a wedding at the Abbotsbury Botanical Gardens last year. Oh my gosh, stunning venue. And I would love to go back. And this is not a fault to the venue at all, but because they are a venue that's open to the public, they've got the cafe and they've got the gardens and the gift shop and people come in. There was like 3 or 4 of us during the ceremony that were like stood a bit of a ways back, just being like, no, sorry, because people get nosy and kids are running around and people are going, what's going on over there? And they tried to come over and just have a look. And we were like, no, no, thanks. This is a private event. Like, you want your moment to be yours, right? So what's the procedure in place if it is open to the public? What's going to be, do you have to arrange for people to make sure that you're being left alone? Are people, is there risk of people just walking through your ceremony? It's unlikely. Most places are going to put things in place to ensure that you get your time. This isn't an episode to slate on venues and say they're never going to give you this and they're not doing that. That's not it at all. I'm purely just saying that sometimes things can get missed, wires can get crossed, and you have to advocate for yourselves, okay? Of course, everybody wants you to have the most amazing day, but when things get busy, particularly in busy summer wedding season, it's not an excuse, but sometimes things get missed and sometimes things get a bit lax and plans change without being told that they've changed. So I think things like that are worth asking. And just for your peace of mind, what's the procedure? Okay, it's open to the public. Where will they be? What spaces of the venue will we have just for us? What's, parking wise, what are we going to have available? We've got 70 guests coming. We've got, 30, 40 cars. Are we going to have be accommodated for that? Because granted, you're paying a lot more money than the general public are coming to be at that space. So I think it's worth asking and just checking that you're comfortable with their policies and procedures and how they run things. I would also be asking your venue, is there accommodation available on site or nearby? Also, travel arrangements and things like that. What's available locally? This is particularly a good question to ask if you are not getting married locally to where you live. If you are traveling and everyone's traveling with you an hour or 2 or 3 to be somewhere specific, not even just destination weddings abroad, but in the UK, if you are traveling a few hours up north or a few hours down south and everyone's kind of coming with you, is there enough space locally for them? Is it reasonably priced? Do your research, have a look at that. Can you secure things in place now so that it's all going to be available? Things like that can make a huge difference. If they don't have accommodation on site or enough for everyone, you want to make sure that everyone's not going to be stranded and having to travel for 30, 40 minutes just to get back to their hotel or their B&B at the end of the night. A super important question that you need to ask your venue, in my opinion, is there a venue coordinator included in our day? Most of the time there will be. If you have a dry hire venue, as I've said, that's different. You will not have anything included, so you will need to get one. But do you have a venue coordinator? So this is someone that works for the venue. They are part of the internal staff, the planning team. Will we have someone available to us on the day? And will they be working just for us on the day? Or will they be managing other things going on at the venue space? Will there be other little events that we check into? Will they be managing other staff? Will they be checking in on the restaurant that's open to the public at lunchtime? Check. Is there someone available? And how long for? What are they doing for us? What's included in that? This is a really, really good time to specify exactly what will they do? What are they going to do on the day and what they won't do? So similar to what's included in your venue and what's not included, ask what's included from the staff. What are they offering you? Will they support with setting up any decor and styling in the morning of? Will they be managing any of your suppliers? Will they support with moving your guests from place to place? If not, you're going to need to fill in those gaps later. A lot of venues won't. So I wouldn't say that this is a deal breaker for a venue, that you'll want to find a venue that does all of this specifically. Some of them will, some of them won't. But this will be something good to check from the get-go so that you can understand, okay, there's no one to set up our styling, and we were going to do DIY decor, so someone's going to need to set that up. There's no one to manage our suppliers, and we've got quite a lot of them. There's a few moving parts. We're not getting a Toastmaster, so maybe we want someone to move our guests around and make sure they're in the right place. Perhaps we're going to need a wedding coordinator on top of this. So you're kind of going through the process and thinking, okay, so there's some place we need to allocate some of our budget to. That's something we need to research. You're just finding out information, and you don't need to make set decisions at this point, particularly when you're just browsing through venues. But when you are getting to the stage of asking questions like this might be the thing that helps you to make that decision and decide which venue is the right one for you. Really, really important question to asking what their staff does, what will be available to you as part of the service. I would be asking and just making sure that you are aware, essentially, of what their contingency plan is. So what their plan B is. If there is rainy weather and you're planning an outside wedding, what's the plan? What's the plan B? What's your typical plan B? Where will we be having our ceremony if it's not outside? People hate asking this question. You have to do it. I saw a post literally the other day of someone saying, oh, I'm so devastated because it's raining today and I absolutely hate our plan B. It's so ugly. I hate the other option that we've got to get married inside and everything's going wrong and da da da. And I was just reading it thinking, oh my God, what do I always say? You clearly didn't listen. What do I always say? You need to love your plan B as much as you love your plan A. Okay, this could be another thing that determines which venue you go for. Find out what their plan B is and say, okay, if we had to have our ceremony in here, would we be happy with that? If you wouldn't, then don't book it, or find some way to make a plan B space, or find another plan B space that you would be happy with, because you have to love your plan B as much as your plan A. Because that's why it's there. You might have to use it. It's a plan B. So don't assume that everything's going to go fine and dandy on your wedding day and then be absolutely devastated if you have to have it somewhere else. The same thing goes for, if something went wrong, like if the electric's out or this happens, or you can't use the specific room that you're in because maybe something, I don't know, something breaks in there and then you have to have it somewhere else. What's their plan B? Just find out how they handle those processes, because this is going to help you to understand how your day might go if things do go wrong. It also helps you to understand if they're prepared for those kind of scenarios. So we're not trying to trick anyone or test anyone, but it helps you to say, are they prepared for that? Have they got something in place, or are they kind of like, we don't know, we'll just figure that out when it comes to it. That's the last thing you want to hear. You want to hear like, okay, so if this happens, this would be the space that you'd use. It gets used regularly. It's no big deal. Or there's this other option if you fancy that. We'll work with you. We want to make sure you're happy. Those are the kinds of things that you want to be hearing. Not like, oh, we don't really have anything in place, but we always make it work. Red flag. Red flag. So yeah, really important one to ask. Noise restrictions and curfews. Find out the answers to this, the timings. For most people and most weddings, it's like 11 o'clock, isn't it? Like you have to have the music off by, and then people have to have left by midnight, and it's final drinks at this time, whatever. That's fine. But just double check it. Because if you are the kinds of people that are thinking, we actually wanted to have an evening ceremony, a nice twilight ceremony in the evening, and then we wanted to move into like a dinner, and then we wanted to party until early hours of the morning, the music's got to cut off at 11, so you can have no sound. You're going to have to do a silent disco, or you're going to have music on really quietly, and it's just maybe not quite the vibe. So check. Understand if what they are allowed to do matches what you are hoping for. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's simple as that, but just check. Find out. Now, this isn't a question that everyone needs to ask, but asking if you are allowed to bring pets or animals can be a really helpful question to ask. If you're hoping that your dog's going to walk down the aisle with you, or you're wanting to bring them and have them be your ring bearer. We did a whole episode on pets and how they can be involved. You want to bring them down for part of the photo shoot. What's allowed? Are they allowed to be there? Is there a space they can go and chill away from the crowds? Ask what's allowed to be done in that space. Also, not the same, but children. Ask Most venues are going to say, yes, children can be here, but can they stay over? Are they allowed in the accommodation? Is there somewhere they can go to be calm and chill in a separate room if you need them to have that space? It might not be a deal breaker, but I think these things are worth asking. You're just finding out about the space, what's available to us. If we're going to pay you £10,000, £20,000, 30, 40, £50,000, we're going to pay you all this money. What are we paying it for? What exactly do we get? Are we going to say we just get this space, but we're not allowed to use any of the other, this big, huge manor house? We're actually not allowed to use hardly any of it. And we wanted to get photos here, and we wanted to, set up a little quiet kids room here, or maybe you've got people that, you might just need a quiet sensory low level room for people to go and chill in. Maybe you've got some guests that need that kind of space. Is it available to them? Find out those kind of things. So it's not a question that's relevant to everyone, because not most people won't need it, but some people won't need it. But if you think it might be important to you, then just ask. And the final point that I'm going to add into this episode for you, the final question I would be asking is, do you have any renovations planned at the venue? What's happening, when, and what's changing as well? Are they just repainting everything in the same color, or are they actually planning to repaint everything in a different color that is no longer going to match your color scheme, no longer going to go with what you were hoping it would be, because you've gone to this beautiful house and thought, gosh, this is perfect. Look at these walls in this lovely green. That's going to go perfectly with the green that we're going for our wedding day. And then you don't want to turn up 2 years down the line and they've painted everything orange and you're like, oh, that doesn't go, and we probably wouldn't have chosen it if it's going to look completely different. Unfortunately, the way that it is, you are choosing a venue partially because of the way it looks, because you want it to look a certain way. Yes, you're looking for a good experience and nice staff members and, easy location for people to get to, and other things might be a priority, but essentially you're looking for something that looks nice. You don't want to go somewhere that you think is unappealing or ugly. So check those things. What's changing? Is there going to be work being done whilst we're having our wedding? Is there going to be anywhere we're not allowed to go? We're not allowed to have access to the beautiful gardens because they're being renovated, or maybe we wanted to use this room, but there's scaffolding up outside the window and we can't use it. Some things aren't avoidable. Yeah, there are some things that are unavoidable. Goodness, I couldn't even think what I was trying to say then. Sometimes things happen, right? Sometimes there might be a roof leak and there's an unavoidable, like there is just going to be scaffolding up for 6 weeks, but they're doing it in the best way they can. It's not the whole building that's covered. They've done it as minimal as they can. They're letting you have access to everything else, and it's just like, it's crap, but that's the way it goes. There's not much you can do about it. But just check in about anything that's planned and what's the plan. Another thing I would be checking, if you're having like a seasonal wedding, so you're having like a winter wedding, check what their plans are for seasonal decorations, Christmas decor and things like that. Is there going to be a Christmas tree up that you are unprepared to move and is now going to be in all of our, wedding photos? And it's got, purple decorations on it and tinsel, and it's just not the vibe. It's not the vibe. Is that going to be the case? I've heard that before, where people have been like, this venue will not move the Christmas tree. We don't we're having a wedding close to Christmas, but this is still a wedding venue, and all the weddings the rest of the year don't have this Christmas tree up, and they will not move it for our wedding. So check and get it in writing, okay? Because then you have more of something to stand on if it gets to it and they say, no, we're not moving the Christmas tree. And you can say, actually, yes, you are. You said you would. I've got it in writing. It's in the contract. So just, check through things like that. I think it's really, really important. So those are some of the questions I would be asking. I would also be making sure, these aren't specific questions, but anything that's a priority for you, anything that's important to you guys as a couple, do you want fireworks and fire pits and sparklers? Check that you're allowed them. Some places, the license they have is not allowed in the area. Drones, if you're wanting drone footage, some places aren't allowed the drone footage. Check before if you're really hoping for that and it's a big priority for you. Find somewhere that can allow that as a priority. Maybe you want a bounce house for the kids, but they're saying, no, there's nothing allowed to be put up on the lawn. Is that a deal breaker for you? I mentioned earlier, maybe you wanted some private rooms that you're allowed access to, so just check what's available. Maybe you're wanting to do private vows, or you're wanting to do private first looks in somewhere that's a bit different from where you're having all of the other stuff going on. Maybe you want a children's calm space or an adult's calm space, or somewhere, like I said, for the dogs to go chill if they're there for a bit. A breastfeeding room. Maybe you've got somewhere, new mums coming and you just want them to be able to go somewhere quiet to have their space. space for your suppliers to go and chill and have their like separate space. Just check what's available. What's a priority for you? What are you looking for from your venue? And just check, ask the questions. I want to make this super, super clear. You are not being difficult by asking questions. You're not being difficult by asking your venue what is available to us, what are you offering us, and what's not available to us. Your venue is likely to be the biggest cost that you make in your wedding day. So I don't care what anyone says, you deserve to get the answers you need. They might not be the answers you want. Like I said, they might just do things a different way and you can't change that, but you deserve to ask the question. So don't feel like, oh, I've already emailed them and asked this, and I've already asked this, and I've already asked that. Just ask them. If you've already booked your venue and you're listening to this now thinking, oh gosh, I didn't ask those questions, ask them now. You know, there might be some things you can't change, but still ask those questions. I think this will be, you know, if you haven't started that process and you're right at the beginning, this will be something that would be really important to ask and to find out what's available to us from the beginning stages. It doesn't mean you can't ask these questions later down the line. And maybe you're collecting questions over a couple of weeks and then sending a few at a time rather than just sending emails. You know, you want to keep track of everything that you're asking and not get things lost along the way in the emails. But yeah, you're not being a pain for asking. You deserve to ask the questions. I've said it a few times in this episode, make sure you get everything down in writing. I cannot stress this enough. It gives you something to stand on. If there's a change in staff or something changes or they turn around and say, no, this never happened, get it in writing. Some things will be out of the venue's control. Like I've said, fireworks. I did a wedding once where they planned to have fireworks in the evening and then got told a few months before, we're no longer allowed to do fireworks at the venue. We're really sorry. There's nothing we can do. There was nothing the couple could do. There was nothing the venue could do. It was just one of those situations. Sometimes things will be like that and there's nothing you can do. But for the most part, if you've got it in writing, there's most things that will just give you that bit more of a step up in having it the way you originally planned. So I hope that was helpful. I've enjoyed this episode. I really liked this one. So I hope it was helpful for you if you are venue hunting at the moment, or if you've just booked your venue and you think, oh, these are some questions I need to find out and get the answers to, then I hope this is helpful. As I said already, if we need to do a part 2 on this, if we need to do some other things, if there's more things you think, oh, actually, I had to ask our venue this and I had to ask them that, send them my way. I will do another episode. I can't believe this is episode 30. Did I say that at the beginning? Episode 30. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for listening. If you're brand new, then I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you come back next week. We're back every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, folks, we are back with a new episode, a new little segment of me rambling on about weddings for a little bit of time. Some people like it, so do come back. And if you are enjoying it, make sure you leave us a review and a follow and a subscribe and all the good stuff. And if you need anything else, follow me on Instagram, private Facebook group we have. You can come and join that. If you need extra help with your wedding and you want a wedding planner, you can come find me. All of that stuff is in the show notes below. So go and take a look and I will speak to you next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired and excited to create your dream wedding day and those lasting memories. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. I'll be back next Wednesday with more tips, advice, and inspiration. In the meantime, don't be a stranger. Come and find me on Instagram and TikTok at Your Wedding Unlimited, where I share even more wedding ideas and behind-the-scenes insights. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube at Your Wedding Unlimited. And if you're looking for even more support, come and join my private Facebook group, Your Wedding Unlimited. It's an amazing community of fun and authentic engaged couples, packed with extra tips, advice, and insights to guide you along your journey. If you have any questions or need more info, you can DM me or send me an email at yourweddingunlimitedpodcast@gmail.com. All links and details will be in the show notes. Until next time, happy planning!